we saw a deck very similar to this in terms of card inclusions. Caleb Rogerson playing, of course, the same strategy, using cards like the Glass Trumpet and Energy Switch to power up Pokemon, and of course, all thanks to that Noctowl's Jewel Seeker ability to find those trainer cards you're going to want throughout the game.
Yeah, I'll put my foot down on this and say I think that Noctowl, the Jewel Seeker, is one of the strongest abilities that's been printed in a very, very long time. Reminds me, of course, of the Drizzle and Italian line, of course, that with those Shady Dealings abilities did similar, that you search trainers from the deck. Even with that restriction of leaving a Terra Pokemon in play, the fact that you get 2 trainers off of a stage 1 if there's a Terra Pokemon out, such a strong card.
A lot of interesting card inclusions in these decks as well. A really cool Pokemon here for Justin does play that 1 copy of Ditto with the transformative start ability from 151, which if it's in the active spot could switch into any Pokemon that Justin wants. And a cool combo that you can do is it adds an extra chance for you to start a Fan Rotom, and that's most likely why it's in the list here for Justin.
Yeah, it's so key to start with this Fan Rotom, and yeah, that Ditto definitely helps you get there that little bit more easily. Of course, with that Fan Call ability, lets you on your first turn of the game, search your deck for any free Pokemon, colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less, and put them into your hand. So you can go ahead and grab your Evolving Basics, you can grab your Hootoots, you can grab your Noctowl with that, and get yourself all set up and ready to go to search for all the trainers you need.
There's going to be a lot of cool combos both players can put on. Now, only Gabriel is playing that Dusknoir. We see Dusknoir paired a lot in terms of being with Origin Form Palkia V-Star, and we see it a lot paired with the Terrapagos deck, but it's instead going to be Terrapagos and Palkia coming together, joining forces, and leaving Dusknoir behind in the shadows.
Yeah, so this is really going to be a deck focused around, building the bench up to as high an amount as possible. So you put down that Terrapagos, you put down that Area 0 under that stadium, you go real wide on your bench. Your opponent will try their best to not bench down too many Pokemon, but maybe you can bait them into doing the same, and you just hit so hard with both that Unified Beatdown and that Subspace Swell.
It's all going to be about the bench, mainly. Of course, Justin will have ease in building up his bench size. It's really going to be on Gabriel to, again, limit how many Pokemon he has to put in play. Does he limit it to just, 2 Charizards and a Pidgeot? Does he put down that 3rd or 4th Pokemon? We'll most likely see him not overbench past the normal 5 bench size, though he can do that thanks to Charizard EX being a Terrestrial Pokemon.
Absolutely.
But he's got a lot of choices and a lot of navigation to do in a matchup like this.
Yeah, and I'm sure he won't want to fall victim to a very easy Subspace Swell KO by benching too much, so he will bear that in mind, I am sure, as this game goes on and progresses, as both players are now almost ready to go, just the last few shuffles being done. Of course, in tournament play, it's always a good courtesy, well, not just courtesy in the rules, to give your opponent your deck to give a shuffle or a cut. So both players have done that, and now the opening 7 cards being drawn. Let's see how both these players start off this game.
And more importantly, who will also go first?
Oh, yes, very
Gabriel
important.
deciding he is going to start things off after winning the coin flip, so we'll have that advantage as an evolution deck to have a powerful attack at his disposal on the second turn. Let's see the prizes. There is a Prime Catcher in the prizes for Justin.
Ooh.
That's a super powerful card you, of course, want to have as your 1 inclusion A-Spec card. Besides that, Radiant Charizard can be a little bit annoying to have in the prizes. Besides that, though, I think we're going to have a good game here between both these players.
Yeah, the Radiant Charizard as well, a prize for Gabriel, which can't feel that great for him. It's a great late-game finishing attacker, of course, but maybe that's fine because you'll take it in the prizes and then you'll use it when you actually need to, which is later on. But here we go with the fist bump and the handshake. Both players flipped up the basics. We are ready to kick off here our Seniors Finals here at the Latin American Internationals.
Let's make some noise here. Seniors Finals getting into this match between Gabriel Fernandez and Justin Templar, as Gabriel kicks things off in excellent style with the Buddy Buddy Poffin, and Justin starting the 1 copy of Ditto, which is exactly what you want, as that ability can only be used if it's in the active spot.
Let's go. Perfect start there for Justin. He's going to be so happy about that. But Gabriel going to be pretty happy with his start as well. Starting off with that Charmander, does already have that Buddy Buddy Poffin, able to get a second Charmander and a Pidgey for good measure, and going to take a look through the deck just to double check those prizes for himself so that he knows what he's working with, and we'll notice that Radiant Charizard absent from the deck.
Of course, I'm sure Gabriel, as an experienced player, is going into this matchup with a game plan. Immediately knows how many Pokemon he wants on his bench and what Pokemon he wants on his bench. Has that already figured out. And on that note, it will be interesting to see if cards like Cleffa or Rotom come down into play, as they're great at allowing you to set up but Justin can just choose to not target those Pokemon, keeping a passive extra 20 damage in play from something like Subspace Swell.
But also important to note, Justin might not necessarily know this, but Gabriel is actually not opting to play the Cleffa in his Charizard list. We saw how effective it was for both the players in our junior division, but Gabriel deciding that he wanted to cut it for make space for other things. So no Cleffa, no Grasping Draw in this game.
And it looks like there is a second Buddy Puffin to follow things up here for Gabriel if he wants to play it, which it looks like he will decide to do. So again, Gabriel can get 2 more basic Pokemon. We'll see if he decides to take the 2 or if he's just going to grab 1 more. And it looks like it will potentially just be that Duskull, as any extra Pokemon that are not needed could come back to bite him later on.
Yeah, this to me telegraphs that Gabriel already does have a good idea of like what he's up against, and knowing that he does not want to overbench too much, and based on that, just going to get like the minimum that he can get away with that he needs to do a setup for next turn. Very, very smart from Gabriel.
So it will be just the Duskull. So Duskull does come down onto the bench, and we'll see if there's anything else here for Gabriel. Of course, Instant Charge is a great way to end your first turn or any of those turns that you are not attacking with, but it's a liability. And Gabriel's got to weigh those pros and cons as he finishes up the first turn, and Justin will have a lot of pop-off potential and setup potential, thanks again to that Ditto allowing it to become any Pokemon he chooses to out of the deck.
Yeah, so after the Buddy Puffin, going to have a quick look through the hand, and yeah, it is just going to be pass. Let's see Justin fire off with this Ditto in the active. I imagine, depending on what is in the deck, that this is going to become a Fan Rotom.
And it has a Nest Ball as well that can find any basic Pokemon, not just those 100 HP or less Pokemon, thanks to the Fan Call ability, but that is really the card that allows this deck to function. It allows the gears to turn. Fan Call can only be used on your first turn, but allows you to grab those 3 100 HP or less Pokemon. In this case, the Noctowl line, with combination of a Terrestrial Pokemon like the Terrapagos, you can all of a sudden combine item cards and trainer cards and create a powerful strategy.
Yeah, the ability to search for any 2 trainer cards when you evolve into that Noctowl is really what makes this deck work and tick. You can go ahead and search the stadium out, so you can start going wide on the bench. You can start setting up with all your setup cards, like your Glass Trumpet. If I know this deck doesn't play it, but for example, you can there. Also that Earthen Vessel to get your energy in the bin early. Pretty much gets you anything that you might need or want. And actually, off that Nest Ball, does go for that Terrapagos EX.
And one thing we don't talk about a lot when it comes to Fan Rotom, yes, its ability is great, but let's not forget the attack on the Fan Rotom. It does do 70 damage for 1 colorless energy as long as there's a stadium in play. And though Justin can't use something like Terrapagos' Unified Beatdown on the first turn going second, he could, if he chooses to, use this Fan Call ability and then take the first prize in this matchup and put some pressure on Gabriel before he's had a turn to evolve.
Yeah, that could be pretty great. We do see the Ultra Ball as well, getting out the Palkia V. Of course, you do want to out into play for 1 turn, so you can evolve it into that Palkia V-Star, get that Subspace Swell going, and also make use of that really strong Star Portal V-Star power ability that lets you attach free water energy from the discard pile to your water Pokemon.
And wow, Judge, the 1 copy of Judge in Justin's deck, getting played on turn 1. This is where it's the strongest. Before Gabriel has set up Pokemon like Pidgeot EX, will now have to shuffle that hand in, draw just 4 cards, and see if he can put together some combination of cards to keep up with Justin's stellar turn 1.
This is a big potential to close the window on Gabriel here, depending on what these draws end up being. It is 4 cards, it's not nothing, but it's not a lot either. So it looks like, actually, just looking at Gabriel's hand, it looks okay, but not amazing. Oh, there is a supporter, I guess, but on the other hand, what has Justin drawn is, looks like he's going to be not playing anything, but is going to go ahead and use that Ditto's ability to swap for the Fan Rotom, and then we're going to see that Fan Call.
Fan Call can be used, and now the question here is, does Justin find, a water energy and a stadium? That's going to be, pretty difficult off of just 4 cards from the Judge. But then the question becomes, is it worth committing your attachment for turn just to take this 1 prize on the Charmander instead of, maybe slowly powering up a Pokemon so you don't have to rely off of something like Star Portal for the following turn? We're now just going to see the Fan Call, so we'll grab that Hoothoot and 2 of those Noctowls. So if Gabriel is not able to disrupt the hand on Justin's side, he will have access to, if he chooses, Tool Jewel Seeker abilities and can search out 4 trainer cards from the deck.
Yeah, and if Justin is able to get away with that and make use of both of those, that is going to put a lot of hurt onto Gabriel. It's going to be very important for him to find a disruptor supporter. Although I do believe I saw the Ino in Gabriel's hand, actually.
That could be good. That could be very powerful. Justin will go ahead and bench the Hoot Hoot and has a lot of great cards at his disposal for the following turn, is content to just pass things over. Let's see what Gabriel has, starting things off with a Nest Ball, so can search out any basic Pokemon he'd like. We could potentially see something like Rotom come down. Would have been great the previous turn. Of course, the cards would have just been shuffled back in, but it is, of course, there as a Forest Sealstone user to use that Forest Sealstone tool as your once per game V-Star power to get your combos up and going.
Yeah, very important to have a V Pokemon in the deck to make use of that. And of course, we see usually the small package of the Lumineon V to search out supporters, and the Rotom V to be able to draw extra cards, even though it does end your turn in the early game, you don't mind at all. But at this stage, yeah, just put it down so you can make it a Forest Sealstone target, and then you can use that Star Alchemy power to search for any one card from the deck.
Now the choice here for Gabriel is it worth playing this Ultra Ball when the resources you'll be discarding seem to be a little bit important or too important to get rid of? We'll just play the Iono, not playing the Ultra Ball. Both players shuffling their hands to the bottom of their deck, and we'll draw a card for each of their prizes, so 6 apiece for both of these players.
Yeah, one of only 2 copies of Iono in the entire deck, so we'll have to be mindful of that if he ends up having to use or burn another one, so that he can still disrupt at a later stage if he wants or needs to. But off of this, finds the Forest Sealstone off the Iono here, as well as a Charmeleon.
So it does have some options from this point going forward. However, the supporter card has already been played, so we may have to see Gabriel take this turn off, unless, maybe there's something like a Charizard EX in the hand as well. You've got to always be careful in terms of which Pokemon you're promoting. As soon as put a 2-prize Pokemon in the active spot and have too many Pokemon on your bench, things get interesting. And it all plays around subspace swell, right? If there's 12 bench Pokemon in total, that would be, of course, 20 more damage, so that's 220 plus the 60. So it wouldn't be enough to knock out a Charizard, but it would be very, very close.
Yeah, he's thinking this through here. He's doing like a little bit of a count here. It looks like
300, excuse me. So it's 12 Pokemon times 2, 240 plus the 60. So almost there, but not quite.
Almost there, but not quite. But it looks like the Charizard was indeed in the hand. So it's going to be the Forest Sealstone search, the Star Alchemy for the rare candy to evolve into this Charizard. And that Infernal Rain ability is now online. Going to attach 2 to the active and 1 to that bench Charmeleon. And Gabriel will take the first knockout of the game.
It is the fan Rotom, so if there's any Pokemon Justin would, be okay with having being knocked out, it would be this fan Rotom. It's done its job. It's grabbed these Pokemon, and it will be on Justin to find a response. Gabriel striking first in game number 1, taking the first prize card, and Justin now looks like promoting this Origin form Palkia V, looking to potentially get Palkia V-Star online and into play.
Oh, wait, hold on. It looks like I was mistaken. There is the Glass Trumpet in this deck. Sorry, I misspoke earlier, but misread the deck list. So we'll be able to use that very nicely to get some energies onto the field. Of course, the Glass Trumpet, if there's a Terra Pokemon in play, you can play it to attach 1 energy each to 2 of your colorless bench Pokemon. So yeah, very, very strong setup card. We'll be able to use that to get more energies onto the field with this Earthen Vessel, discarding 1 from the hand already. Now, something that I saw, or I was thinking about, looking through Justin's deck list, he does play that Radiant Greninja. So with no Manaphy out in the field, there is a potential for a really big disruption. Moonlight Shuriken targeting down this Pidgey and targeting down this Duskull. The opportunity to get rid of both the Charmanders is gone because the Charizard is now already in play, but could still put in a lot of hurt by getting rid of those 2 if he can set it up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You do take the 2 prizes, but you've got to remember that Terrapagos EX on the bench does only have 230 HP, and by allowing Gabriel to play the game with a limited bench, you take away that option, down the line of potentially taking a 1-hit KO. It's going to be difficult either way, to reach for knockouts on Charizard, but that Pidgeot EX only having 280 HP can be something that Origin form Palkia V-Star is able to hit down the line.
Yeah, the Origin form Palkia V-Star is your big hitter here. Your Terrapagos really caps out at 240 damage, even if you do have a full bench, whereas the Origin form Palkia V-Star does factor in your opponent's bench as well. But here we go, the first Jewel Seeker of the game. So coming in and going to be searching for that Irida, which is, well, wait, hold on. You need to search for 2 trainers here, right? So yeah, you got to do the sequencing right. Finish the Jewel Seeker, get your 2 trainers from that, and then play the Irida to get 2 more.
Yep, so looks like Justin catching himself here. You do have the option to just grab one trainer card, but I'm sure Justin would more than like to grab 2 trainer cards in this spot. It will be the Irida, which is most likely the supporter of choice, as well as a Nest Ball. Irida will be played, allowing Justin to search for a water Pokemon and any item he chooses. It's kind of crazy, you know, Freya, to see this whole engine of Origin form Palkia V-Star. It played for Irida. It was heavily based off this card. Fell out of favor for months, and now that it's back, it's still partnered with Irida.
Well, I mean, Irida never stopped being a bad supporter card, right? It was always good. It sort of play even in decks like Golden Go, but it just hasn't had a maximum chance to shine. But in these Palkia-based decks, it absolutely is still as strong as it ever was.
So it looks like Buddy Poffin is a potential choice here for Justin. Can go ahead and grab another basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less. It will just be the Hoot, as now Radiant Greninja comes down into play thanks to the Nest Ball. So Justin is currently capped out at 5 Pokemon on the bench. However, with the Area 0 Under Depths, it could extend the bench to 8 and allow Justin to, of course, put more Pokemon into play, which is always good.
Yeah, it always is. So I'm not sure which one are we going to see just here. The Star Portal, the free energies are there, ready to go. So yeah, here it is, Star Portal. It's going to be 2 onto the active and 1 onto this Radiant Greninja. So just going to be setting up a little bit of damage on the active for now, and then maybe a follow-up Radiant Greninja later on. I like the play.
Yeah, if Justin could have gotten an energy attachment for turn, I think he'd be in a little bit better of a spot, right? You put 1 more energy onto that Radiant Greninja, and then down the line, all you need is an energy attachment for turn to get there. Now, there is always, of course, that Glass Trumpet, which can only go onto colorless Pokemon, but Justin does play that 1 energy switch, and that could allow Greninja to attack from nowhere. It will be important to know if Gabriel knows about that card and can try and play around it.
Yeah, that would be a very sneaky tech card that Justin plays. Not, some versions of this deck do opt to play it, but it's definitely something that Gabriel either has to keep in mind if he hasn't already, or will eventually find out about and maybe get a bit of a nasty surprise.
So Charizard EX now has 90 HP left, which Freya is a perfect number to be knocked out by Moonlight Shuriken. Of course, it does have to be active, and you see Gabriel understanding how powerful an attack like that would be down the line, using Boss's Orders as the supporter of turn to bring up this Radiant Greninja into the active spot. And with this knockout, Gabriel will go down to 4 prizes left, maybe mapping to knock out these 2 Rule Box Pokemon to finish the game out.
Yeah, and it's a bit deceptive as well, of course, because, you know, you think, oh, it's a Charizard, it's weak to water, but no, of course, it is that Terra Dark type, so it actually is weak to grass, which means that it's really only Ogerpon that can prey on it. So very heads up there from Gabriel, recognizing the potential for the devastating play with the Moonlight Shuriken, and we'll just bring it up for an easy KO with the Burning Darkness, going down to 4 prizes left.
So how will Justin respond here? Is it worth, you know, committing some resources to re-establish Radiant Greninja, committing an energy for turn, bringing it back? There's lots of solid pieces in this hand. Night Stretcher and Glass Trumpet. There is only 1 water energy in the discard pile at this point, of course, with that Radiant Greninja being knocked out, as well as some other pieces. You know, Iono is a great card. Your opponent still does not have Pidgeot EX into play, so putting your opponent down to 4 cards will hurt more when they don't have any stability on their bench in terms of support.
Yeah, I'm definitely considering hand disruption here. I'm considering getting back that Greninja, if nothing else, just for the extra draw with the concealed cards, of course. You always want to be going through as much of your deck as you can. It will set up your discard pile as well for that Glass Trumpet. There's a lot of different things to consider, and I think Justin is considering all the options here, but it's a little bit tough to reason through. There is the Glass Trumpet coming in. Only 1 energy in there, so it's just going to be the 1 energy attachment to that Terrapagos EX. Of course, with its Unified Beatdown attack, can do a very good amount of damage, but would like to get out that Area 0 Under Depths to go even wider on the bench to do even more. And then it looks like, oh, it's going to be the Rescue Stretcher for the Noctowl, of course, we saw discarded earlier, so we'll be able to Jewel Seeker again.
Jewel Seeker number 2, Justin playing the full 4/4 line of Noctowl, wants to use Jewel Seeker as much as possible, as he will be able to search out 2 more trainer cards from the deck, and even with Iono in hand, is considering possibly just grabbing Professor's Research, and that could attest to the fact that while Gabriel is at 4 prize cards, he hasn't really done much in terms of, you know, playing supporter cards, setting his board up after playing that Iono on turn 2.
Yeah, so this is going to be the play. It's going to be using Jewel Seeker to grab the Area 0 Under Depths and the Professor's Research, and then just going full send. Discard your whole hand, set up the rest of your board, go as wide as you can, and really put a bunch of attacking pressure on Gabriel.
So it looks like a Hoot will come down into play. Of course, Star Portal has already been used, and there is the Area 0 Underdepths. Now both players, as long as they have a Terrestrial Pokemon in play, can extend the bench to 8 Pokemon. So Justin will get 7 more cards, see what he can put together. There's a lot of pieces, that 1 copy of Energy Switch, as well as some trainer cards like Nest Ball to fill the bench up.
Yeah, Nest Ball here, probably going to think about grabbing either another Palkia V or, of course, that Serendipity EX with that Flip the Script ability. It did get knocked out last turn, so we'll be able to make use of that and yeah, just putting the bench on the back row, as it were, for the extra free. Oh, there's a Mew EX there ready to go in hand for later as well. Flip the Script comes in, draws 3 more cards. What does Justin see off these? Looks like, oh, it's not a state, it's a Glass Trumpet, a Noctowl, and a Nest Ball, just to really extend even further.
Another Nest Ball. I wonder, though, if Justin has any more Pokemon he'd even like to grab out of the deck. Doesn't at the moment, and will respond with a Subspace Swell. Charizard EX goes down. Let's see what Gabriel has now that Justin is at 4 prize cards. The big thing here for Gabriel, can he take two prize knockouts back-to-back, or find a way to close this game out in 2 turns? It's essentially a 2-turn game from here on out.
Yeah, it is. So it's going to be Nest Ball here, and I do believe, yes, so Gabriel is also playing that Serendipity EX, and he really needs to find something off of this here. There is no Pidgeot set up currently, so you can't quick search to guarantee what you need. It's going to have to be these 3 cards to find a way to take a 2-prize knockout this turn to keep up that tempo. Maybe, again, like we discussed before, thinking about taking out that Serendipity EX on the bench. It doesn't have a lot of HP compared to the rest. It's an easy knockout, and it will stop Justin from digging even further into the deck. But you also have 2 attackers to deal with as well, so it's a very hard choice.
Hard choice indeed. Looks like we may be relying off this Flip the Script to find some important pieces. We'll draw the 3 cards. Does find, it looks like, a pair of Arven. That's not a bad supporter at all. Of course, can search out any item card as well as a tool like a Defiance Band. That can allow him to, have a little bit of a punch to take the knockout. Now, the way the math works out is Defiance Band is not a super relevant card at this point, since 30 more damage would mean you would be 10 short of knocking out this Origin form Palkia V-Star, but we'll still play this Arven and find a tool and an item card from the deck if he chooses.
Yeah, sadly, with 280 HP, just works a little bit above the mass required in terms of how it works with Burning Darkness, so won't be able to take up the Palkia, so I imagine could be considering, yeah, we mentioned the Serendipity, or you could, of course, take out that Terrapagos and then force Justin to discard down to only 5 Pokemon on the bench. That could be a good choice as well.
The Night Stretcher, the item of choice, and immediately Justin's going to see which Pokemon are in the discard pile. Mainly, it's that Charizard EX. Of course, this Charmeleon was evolved the previous turn, so no rare candy needed. You can go ahead and just play the Night Stretcher, grab the Charizard, evolve it, and use that Infernal Rain ability to power your Pokemon up.
Yeah, now much like a lot of these decks we've seen, there are only 5 Fire Energy in the deck list for Gabriel. So are there enough energy left in the deck? I mean, there is 1. I guess that's all you really need, and there is 2.
Yeah, for now, 1 is enough. Of course, if there's no way to recover energies from here, you'd only have 1 left in the deck to potentially power up Charizard. And now the question here for Gabriel, can you maybe get something like Pidgeot into play? Interestingly enough, is going to go and discard Briar off of the Ultra Ball. That's a card that can always swing the tempo in certain matchups. However, here, since you are at 4 prize cards, you have a pretty solid line to close a game like this out if you can just take 2 prize knockouts and this, or 2 prize knockouts, excuse me, and this is one way to do it. With the Dusclops, you give your opponent an extra prize card, thus boosting the damage and thus allowing you to use Defiance Band, which normally you wouldn't since prizes are tied.
Yeah, and not only that, of course, but to be able to combine that with the Lost Vacuum onto the areas who are under depths, so that you don't have to KO the Terrapagos to force Justin to discard down either. So super, super strong turn and super strong play from Gabriel. And it comes with the Dusclops. Yeah, it's going to be that Curse Blast, and I guess you just put it onto the active, right?
Don't even need to.
No, you don't need to. No, the damage boost, of course.
Don't even need to with Defiance Band. I think the only, positive aspect is you could put the 50 onto this Palkia and then save the Defiance Band. However, from this point, the big issue is if Justin takes 2 more prizes, everything in his deck will be knocked out by Burning Darkness. So it's just a little bit better to maybe put it onto a bench Pokemon, give some flexibility. These players probably know most of their opponent's list, but might not know all 60 cards, as Gabriel has an excellent turn, takes 2 more prizes, and is just 2 prize cards away from securing game number 1.
Yeah, that Burning Darkness coming in with the Defiance Band for 300 damage. That is enough to knock out a Palkia V-Star. And important to note for Justin as well, he was not able to get down another Palkia V onto the bench last turn, so he has no Palkia V-Star to follow up with right now.
Even if there was an attack from Palkia, the way things work is, if you're not taking a knockout, or even if you are taking a knockout, a Charizard coming back up is dealing enough damage. And with the way that Gabriel has limited his bench, even if Justin played something like that one copy of Kieran in his deck to boost damage by 30, it would still not be enough because Gabriel has only benched 3 Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. Going to be very, very tough going for Justin here to try and find a way to pull this back in terms of Gabriel. What Gabriel's done massively here to kind of close the door on any opportunities that Justin might have to try and make a comeback here. There goes Nespel coming down. Only a Fan Rotom left in the deck in terms of Pokemon. I mean, you're going to want to put that down anyway because you want to just boost the damage that Terapagos can do as much as you can, but make no mistake, it is not good news for Justin right now.
And this was so smart from Gabriel too. These 3 Pokemon are all 2 prize Pokemon, and they are not going to be knocked out from a Pokemon's attack like the Fan Rotom, which could poke for 70 damage. That could have been Justin's way back into this game. Knock out a 1 prize Pokemon, bring a 1 prizer up, but even then, if Gabriel had a boss's orders, he could just instantly fetch it out with Quick Search, and you see how much value it provides to a deck like Charizard.
It's an age-old term, the 7 prize game. Force your opponent to take an effective 7 prizes when they only need to take 6 by forcing them to knock out two prize Pokemon when they only have 3 prizes left. It is a tried and true strategy in the Pokemon TCG with these 2 prizing attackers, and that's exactly why Gabriel has manipulated his board the way he has, like you just said. So Palkia V coming down with 1 water energy, a Terapagos coming down as well, and then there is the Ino at the very least.
Yeah, and was wondering here if Justin played a card like, the Briar we talked about on Gabriel's side, could have potentially put something together with Prime Catcher, that we know that Prime Catcher is in the prizes, will instead have to just opt for the Iono, shuffle his hand to the bottom, same with Gabriel, draw 2 cards, but the biggest issue here is that Gabriel doesn't matter how many cards are in his hand, he can just find the boss's orders here. We'll see Justin go through the motions, hit with this Fan Rotom for 70 damage, but as long as Gabriel has another boss, this game is over, and with him using this Quick Search, I think it's here. Game number 1 going to Gabriel.
Easy buckets for Gabriel. Huge congratulations. And once again, the Brazilian home star is only 1 game away from becoming a home international champion, and Gabriel is only 1 game away from being a 2-time Latin America international champion.
Perfectly played. Could not have necessarily played that any better there from Gabriel. Took every win condition away from Justin and essentially locked the game up the turn before that by not giving any options for cards, like, of course, there's no Curse Bomb in this deck, but you just don't put those 1 prize Pokemon in play. You don't put other Pokemon in play that would matter. Instead, you put the Pidgeot, you say, if you knock this Pokemon out, you've got a chance. However, if you're not able to knock my Pidgeot out, and even if you do knock it out, you put yourself in the prize range for Burning Darkness to knock you back out. What a game. Let's look back at it.
Yeah, massively done there from Gabriel. Played it, as you pretty much said, I don't think I can fault a single play that Gabriel did here. He clearly knows his deck inside and out, just like his brother Vinny said at the beginning. He is well tested in this matchup as well, so he knows exactly what he needs to do. Just had a very early out of the gates with that Charizard attacking, taking the first prize. Justin as well tried to set up something with the Radiant Greninja, but Gabriel was like, no, I recognize how disruptive this could be. I'm going to deal with this right now. And it was from there that Justin really wasn't able to mount much of a comeback. It was just, he may have taken 2 prizes, sure, but then just able to get out another Charizard on Gabriel's side and taking out that Dusclops, making use of the Curse Blast to put an extra damage onto the Terapagos, but then forcing that 7 prize game, triggering the Defiance Pad, taking a KO. Every single play from Gabriel was so masterful in that game.
And if I'm Justin, thinking back on that game, I think the one turn something could have possibly changed is when he opted to not attack with Radiant Greninja the turn he used the Star Portal ability. And I think that revolved around the fact that he was just 1 energy card short, right? If you commit all of your energies to attacking with Radiant Greninja that turn, it becomes really hard to set that Palkia up. You have to find the Glass Trump with the energy switch, the energy as well. And with the hand there for Justin, may not have been able to accomplish that. I think just in that position, you needed to take advantage of Radiant Greninja when you're using the Star Portal. Otherwise, if you're not getting value from it in this matchup, it's very difficult because those early turns are really the turns for Gabriel where he's not able to play things like or necessarily play boss's orders. He has to choose between either setting his board up and establishing Pidgeot or taking threats out. So it could have been a position there, excuse me, where Justin could have capitalized.
Yeah, and to that exact note, Justin is choosing to go first here, and it's for that exact reason. You want to go first, you want to set up your Palkia, you want to give yourself the maximum chance of doing a blowout Moonlight Shuriken to really stop Gabriel from being able to set up at all, because that is a much easier way for Justin to win in this matchup. So I'm sure that's what he'll be going for, and actually does start that Radiant Greninja for good measure as well.
Big advantage, always going first in the TCG. There are a few decks, you know, that prefer to go second, but both of these decks, I'm sure, would like to start things out and, again, take prizes and hit Pokemon before your opponent does. Prize cards will go out, and we will be getting into the heat, into the thick of it of this game, too.
Yeah, absolutely. One game away from becoming a three-time international champion. There it is. We are kicking off here in game 2. Justin, we're going first, starting with that Radiant Greninja, and already we're looking for a pretty decent hand, although no way to search a basic other than... No, actually, no way to search basic at all. It's going to be a pretty important conceded cards. Okay, there's a couple of Hoot in hand already, so no way to search a basic, but still got a few basics in play, but... no way to get a Palkia, though, is really, really rough.
And no Palkia and no Fan Rotom. That is just always a piece that you want to have down to get more Pokemon in play, and just has to pass the turn over. So Justin going first will really have no threat in terms of attacking the following turn, besides something like Fan Rotom's Assault Landing, but that's really not an attack you want to be committing your energies to and powering up, as Gabriel has an excellent start already with 2 Pokemon in the hand, and a Forest Seal Stone and and Buddy Poffin grabbed from this Arven.
Yeah, no time wasted here. Just hard open with the Arven in hand, grabbing the Buddy Poffin to get the Duskull and the Charmander, the Forest Seal Stone ready to go with that Rotom to search for anything with that Star Alchemy power. Wow, could not be a more of a contrast between the turn ones here. And this is the strength that Charizard sometimes has going second, of course. It's the fact that you can play your supporter, you can set up more widely than and better than perhaps you usually would be able to going first. Now, I do want to draw attention in the prizes. That unfair stamp was in the prizes, of course, that very important ace spec. It might not mean that Gabriel needs it, but still important to note for the future turns.
We saw a disruptive aspect of that in our juniors final earlier. Could be another key card for Gabriel if he's able to find it off the prizes and use it at an opportune moment. Everything from here is just a cherry on top to the sundae that Gabriel has already created this first turn, can end the turn off with Rotom, has Forest Seal Stone. In fact, Gabriel could safely attach the Forest Seal Stone to Rotom. Justin is not playing any cards like Lost Vacuum in his deck. Oh, there is a Lost Vacuum, excuse me. So that is a risk technically for Gabriel. He's just got to decide, do you think my opponent is going to find that Lost Vacuum on turn 2? Do I want to guarantee if an Iono is played, I have that card? If not, you know, maybe I hold on to it and see what happens next turn.
I think given that you have a Lumineon V in hand, maybe it's okay to like not put it down right now because, I mean, I say that right, but if you get Iono, it doesn't matter either way. So yeah, maybe you do consider it. I think in the grand scheme of things, it probably is worth going for.
It's tough because you're going to most likely look to play another Arven the following turn. So I think I like Gabriel just holding on to it, since you can just re-find it out of the deck again if you're playing an Arven on the following turn. There's just a lot of risk to losing that powerful V-Star power when your opponent just plays a single item card from their hand and shuts that effect off for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so after the Buddy Poffin, just really deciding how best to approach the rest of this turn 1. Your turn 1 board setup is absolutely fine. There really isn't much else that you need here. You have a Fire Energy that maybe you want to consider whether you want to attach or not. As we mentioned, there is that Forest Seal Stone, the debate over whether to put it down or not. It looks like he's going to just commit a Fire Energy to the active. He's thinking about it. You go for a steady fire breathing on Charmander?
Absolutely. It would be a great attack here to possibly use. However, I think the instant charge is slightly better. If there was no Rotom, getting rid of that Area 0 could have had a lot of benefit. But I agree with Gabriel here. 3 cards is better than getting rid of the Stadium. As Justin top decks the Buddy Poffin, that would have been a great card to have on the previous turn. You do still get some more Pokemon out, but the big missing factor I think here for Justin is there is no Terrestrial Pokemon in play yet, which means while he does have, I believe, 1 or 2 of these Noctowl in hand, that Jewel Seeker ability only works if you have a Terrestrial Pokemon in play for you to use it.
Yeah, gonna have to get down that Terrapagos EX somehow. He wants to make use of that Jewel Seeker, but in the meantime, he's just gonna do that first deck search and see what he has access to and what he doesn't. He's thinking about maybe just going ahead and grabbing, you know, a couple more for good measure. And we do see there the prizes now. Oh, that one of Irida is prized, which is a bit unfortunate. Fan Rotom kind of a little bit late for that, so not as concerned. But then one of the 2 Palkia V-Stars prized as well.
Instead of that ship has sailed, that fan has sailed, I guess.
that fan has blown.
That fan has blown. It's gone in the wind at this point.
Yes.
Rotom, I'm sure not a concern at this point here for Justin. Gabriel waiting patiently and sitting on a very solid hand after that instant charge. He's going to have a lot of potential plays that he can make. Justin, though, is going to have to put something together, and it starts by getting these powerful V and EX Pokemon down into play to threaten attacks on the following turn.
Yeah, that's going to be what it's all about. Now, that Buddy Poffin was a great top deck, but is there anything else to follow up with? I don't think there is. Is there research?
Potentially a Professor's Research. Now, something that Justin could do is play the Night Stretcher and Concealed cards, but instead is just going to take his losses where they're at, having to discard, 2 of these Night Stretcher and a Noctowl, filling the hand up to 7 cards. What does Justin find here? It is that Origin Form Palkia V. Is there a Terapagos and a Noctowl to follow things up? It looks like with Ultra Ball there could potentially be. However, for this Terapagos to attack this turn, it's going to require a lot, Freya.
Yeah, you'll need the Glass Trumpets, you'll need the Energy and Discard, and actually the Energy and Discard is probably why the Night Stretcher wasn't opted to be used to either attach. I guess you could have concealed cards, but maybe there's a worry that you end up discarding more stuff you really don't want to, so that does explain the Night Stretcher choice quite well. There's a Hisuian Heavy Ball getting played. We'll fish out that Fan Rotom, of course, the only thing you can fish out. At this point, it's just extra bench fodder to boost the damage of either the Terapagos or the Origin Form Palkia V-Star. But and then also it could even be good discard fodder for this Ultra Ball here as well.
Indeed, really not going to get too much use out of that card besides, like you mentioned, some extra damage. And I think the consideration here for Justin is, do I just hold on to these Ultra Ball? There's so many Pokemon I want to find. Is it worth putting another 2 prize Pokemon in play? Doesn't think it is, and here we go. Perfect setup for Gabriel. Playing the Arven can get Rare Candy and a Tool card, and if he's got the correct combination, can get Pidgeot and Charizard into play and remove this Radiant Greninja if he's got all the pieces.
Not only removing the Radiant Greninja, do you have the pieces to put together a KO on the Origin Form Palkia V-Star?
Unfortunately, there are no prize cards taken yet. That can, of course, always change with the Cursed Blast ability.
Exactly,
That's
right?
a lot you need. Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard, Dusclops, and a counter catcher. That is a lot. I don't know if Gabriel's got all of that. If he does, more power to him. But I think even just Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard is enough for Gabriel on this second turn.
Yeah, it's already pretty good going, right? We did see how threatening the Radiant Greninja could have been if it was allowed to carry on. So yeah, just deal with that threat, force it at least for it to come back. And especially given that you already saw that Justin has been through so many Night Stretchers, maybe you get rid of this Radiant Greninja and actually it's just gone for the rest of the game.
There's only one Night Stretcher remaining.
Oh,
and now there are going to be multiple targets because don't forget that Noctowl was discarded off Professor's Research. So essentially only 3 Jewel Seeker can be used for Justin in this game. As of now for Gabriel, we'll go ahead and use the Infernal Rain to power up Charizard and take the first prize cards despite going second in this game too.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going second and you're taking the first prizes against a deck like this, you're already feeling pretty good, you know what I mean? Whether it's 1 or 2 prizes, we saw that Gabriel took the first KO in the first game, and he ended up winning that game pretty handily. So yeah, I think it is just going to be, after the attachment there, a Burning Darkness onto this Radiant Greninja to KO it. Just going to look at the discards quickly first, just to make sure that there's nothing else important that he's missing, nothing else that might change his line of attack here. We do see the Defiance Band ready to go in hand, as well as maybe considering benching another Charmander, but you don't want to overextend your bench too much. So yeah, I like this. Just take the KO on the Radiant Greninja, take the first prize of the game, onto Justin to respond.
And how do you respond in this spot? You've got 1 Water Energy in your discard pile. If you want to attack, you're going to need either some combination of trainer cards like Energy Switch, Glass Trumpet. You don't even have a Terrestrial Pokemon in play yet. That can always change, of course, with a card like Nest Ball to search some Pokemon out. But even then, what do you attack with? What do you go for? Something like Radiant Greninja feels like might just require too many resources, though it would allow Justin to even things up, or rather take the lead here by taking 2 prizes. So we'll see how Justin decides to navigate this situation.
Well, yeah, at the very least here, you have the Nest Ball for the Terapagos, so now your Jewel Seeker is online. You can evolve into the Noctowl, and you can start searching for those trainer cards, and you really need to start trying to set up something, because otherwise Gabriel is going to kind of run away with this game a little bit like he did in Game 1, and you're already on the back foot by comparison. So yeah, with that, the Jewel Seeker coming in, you need to start attacking with a Palkia, or maybe even with a Terapagos, so you can't get the Palkia going. There it is, the Jewel Seeker. What 2 cards is he going to fetch here? That Prime Catcher is available to him if he wants to make use of it, and I think that he's going to target that straight away, and then maybe might be thinking about that Glass Trumpet so he can start accelerating some energy so he can get an attack going.
Turn is still far from over, but Justin is going to need some help. That is for certain. Earthen Vessel and Prime Catcher, so we've got 2 of the pieces, right? The energy from the Earthen Vessel and the powerful Gusting plus switching effect from that Prime Catcher A-Spec. And will be Kieran hitting the discard pile. That's not a card that Justin showed on turn 1, but now that Gabriel has information, or maybe had information about it before, may have to be a little bit extra cautious going forward if this were to go to a game 3 in terms of managing his bench, so a Pokemon like Charizard doesn't get one hit knocked out.
Yeah, very important to be mindful of that damage. As we do see there, the Ultra Ball now gain 2 more of those Water Energies into the discard pile. This could be setting up nicely for a Glass Trumpet here. They see that Ultra Ball finding either the Origin Form Palkia V-Star or another Noctowl, or maybe even that Fezandipity is thinking about it, but nope, just going to go for the Origin Form Palkia V-Star. That has not been able to get it out yet, so that Star Portal ability is online, of course. No Moonlight Shuriken happening here, but could use that just to get the Origin Form Palkia V-Star itself powered up and start putting some hurt onto Gabriel with the Subspace Swell.
That is Water Energy number 3, so Justin is going to get the full effect of that Star Portal V-Star power if he chooses to, and here we go. This is a big find for Justin. Iono plus the Prime Catcher. As things stand right now, the Subspace Swell is doing 240 damage, so Justin just needs to find 2 basic Pokemon here and finds that with the Nest Ball plus another Origin Form Palkia V.
Yeah, doesn't even need to use the Ultra Ball, can save that for later. Has a Noctowl ready to go as well in case he wants to do another Jewel Seeker, but could just save that to a perfect draw there off of the Ino for Justin.
Yeah, and another great Pokemon needs to bench another. Why not have it be Fezandipity? Draw some cards, use that Flip the Script ability, and build your hand up to be able to follow up with more aggression on the following turn.
Yeah, and even more fitting because Justin is definitely going to need to flip the script if he wants to make a comeback in this game. As yeah, once again, just moving the bench to the back there just to make it clear what the extra ones are. 3 cards drawn off the flip the script, and are they 3 good ones? Oh yeah, it's an Ino. Oh, there's that third Night Stretcher and the switch too.
There is the final Night Stretcher, and now Justin has to make a choice. Do you commit Night Stretcher, your last Night Stretcher in the deck, to grabbing Radiant Greninja as that last Pokemon? Do you bench another Origin Form Palkia? I think the big miss here, though, for Justin is I'm not sure he found a Water Energy to commit for the turn, and that would have been something that could have been very strong in a situation like this. You could put the energies on the Palkia and the Greninja and have that be a threat later on. That might be something Justin's going to miss. However, we'll still put the one on the Greninja, so with the energy switch, it can be a threat if it just has a single water on it.
It happened just like in Game 1, same situation. Got the Star Portal for the free energy, but missed the manual attachment. Very unfortunate there, as it does mean that you need to use the energy switch if you want to make use of that Moonlight Shuriken. But still a pretty good turn for Justin. We got some really good setup going, was finally able to get going with his attacks, and especially taking out that Pidgeot EX is absolutely crucial. Combined with that Ino, that's going to make it a lot harder for Gabriel to try and find some kind of counterplay. Although we do start off with a Lost Vacuum already to get rid of that stadium.
So the benches will be removed to 5 Pokemon. So that is sort of one of the interesting things. Justin, I'm not sure necessarily needed to bench that Origin Form Palkia V, but decided to that final turn, and essentially it's just going to get discarded in this spot. Could have, maybe held on to that Pokemon, and if there was another Area 0 found, could have benched it then next turn, as we are going to see an Evolution and a Cursed Blast onto this Origin Form Palkia V-Star, and with Justin going down to 3 prize cards now, this Charizard can be in range for a knockout. And hold on, this is a big turn here potentially. It's just going to play Thornton to get Duskull back into play. Is there the ability to use another Curse Blast? That could be a little bit too risky, I think. Is instead going to consider maybe trying to reestablish Pidgeot in a single turn.
I mean, that's the great thing about Thornton, right? The Pokemon it swaps out does get treated as having been in play for a turn. So yeah, get that Pidgeot back. Oh, he's nine between the two. I think it's a tough choice, but actually no, he's going to commit to the Duskull.
Curse Blast could be a great ability, down the line later on. So we're just going to see the Duskull come into play and a knockout onto this Origin Form Palkia V-Star. And while Justin has tied things up and it is his turn, this is still a tricky spot, right? This Charizard EX, as it stands, will need to be knocked out in 2 attacks. And Gabriel has a very clear path to winning the game in 2 turns. So how does Justin go about swinging the prize trade in his favor when he has not just the Dusknoir to worry about, but this big Terrestrial Pokemon in the active spot?
Yeah, it's so tough, right? I mean, maybe the best way to go about here is if you can find the setup for the Moonlight Shuriken attack, go ahead and KO this Duskull, but forget the Charmander, put the 90 here, so that way you soften it up, and then you can go ahead and take a follow-up KO with one of your other attackers.
I think that's the best option for Justin. It's the best of both worlds. Getting yourself one turn closer to winning the game while also attacking into this Charizard. And like you said, softening it up. But it's going to come down to if Justin has enough Jewel Seeker abilities at his disposal to find these one-of trainer cards. It looks like we'll use one here and does find the one copy of Energy Switch and already has the Glass Trumpet in hand. So as it stands, Justin can attack here with this Moonlight Shuriken, thanks to those combination of trainer cards.
Yeah, the only thing that is a little bit rough here, of course, is that with the Palkia V getting discarded because of the Stadium bump, and then the Origin Form Palkia V-Star getting KO'd, there is no potential for a follow-up Palkia anytime soon. The night stretches are gone. It is going to have to be Terapagos or bust in terms of attacking for Justin here.
The only tough thing at this point is there is the Energy Switch in the Trumpet, but I'm not sure there's a manual attachment yet. I don't know if Justin has the energy card here. Of course, that would be pretty easy if the Earthen Vessel was in the deck, but it's not yet. So we'll go ahead and play this Trumpet, has the Energy Switch as well. From here, though, it's really just going to be on how much Justin can dig through the deck, while also, disrupting Gabriel would not be bad. Iono could help with that, but he'll only be drawing 3 cards off the supporter.
Yeah, he only will. So it's going to be an Ultra Ball, and I imagine this is going to be for another Knoxville if he has access to it. Oh no, it's going to have to be a Mew instead. Just to get an extra Pokemon onto the bench. Okay, maybe you could attack with the Terapagos first. You have a switching card, but then if you don't, then you end up having to retreat the Radiant Greninja, and the plays are kind of not open anyway. But maybe is that... Oh, wait, there's a switch in hand. Okay, so maybe you just go ahead and do the attack with the Terapagos first, and then on the next turn, you go ahead and attack with the Greninja.
It's so risky to attack with Terapagos, because if your opponent has Rare Candy Dusknoir, you lose the game. They use Curse Blast and then knock out your active, and that's all she wrote. You will lose LAIC. So Justin's going to make that as hard as possible for Gabriel. Shuffling, drawing 3, and
finds
that's
the water.
A big find. Finds the water energy. Now, of course, can still dig through the deck. Has access to flip the script, so we'll draw some more cards. Does find another Glass Trumpet, but yes, as you mentioned, that water energy, a big find, means that Moonlight Shuriken is online and can also target this Duskull down potentially to make it so that Cursed Blast is not an option going forward.
Yeah, this is absolutely as good a turn as Justin could have asked for. That Duskull is the key for Gabriel to win, no matter which way you look at it. So taking it out and then softening up the Charizard is absolutely where you want to be. Going to go for a concealed card for good measure as well. Could go ahead and preemptively do the second Glass Trumpet just to get more energy onto the field. I don't hate that either.
It definitely could be an option. Of course, you're going to have more water in the discard pile once you use the Moonlight Shuriken attack. So maybe we'd like to see Justin hold on to that, though he thinks that just the one is necessary. No need to get a second energy into play. Splitting them up between the Terapagos and Moonlight Shuriken will take a knockout on the Duskull and hit this Charizard for 90 damage, notably putting it in perfect math for a unified beatdown to take the knockout. Let's see what Gabriel can put together.
Yeah, so I think the reason why Justin did it this way is to make sure that each of the Terapagos has one energy on it, so that if either one is KO'd, all it takes is one more manual attachment to go ahead and then win, and obviously the full bench. So it's going to be vital here for there to be a Stadium bump or a counter catcher. Okay, on the Fezandipity, that makes a lot of sense. You just cut off the draw options from Justin as much as possible, just to make him miss an Iono.
And an Iono, so Gabriel will take this 2-price knockout and put the pressure on Justin. I'm not sure Gabriel has another way to get rid of the Stadium card. There's nothing like a collapsed Stadium in this deck, just the copy of Lost Vacuum, and this is it. If Justin can find a full bench of Pokemon and a water energy, he will be able to win the game. You see him counting 5, 6, 7, 8 Pokemon. Does he have the water energy? It's going to come down to this restart. Do we see it? 2 cards drawn. Is there a water energy? No, no water energy.
But can you Ultra Ball for a Noctowl and grab a Nerve Vessel?
I'm not sure. Oh, there is a Noctowl, and I think that, but the problem here is, do you have an Earthen Vessel?
Oh, there
you
is.
do, and the card to discard as well here from the Jewel Seeker. Justin, getting just enough cards here, can go into Terapagos and unified beatdown with 8 Pokemon in play. We'll take the knockout. Freya, we're going to a Game 3.
Wow, and again, from both sides, we saw there in Game 1 what a good player Gabriel was, but Justin as well, just finding right at the end there all the resources he needed. Gabriel doing everything he could with the disruption, with the Iono, carrying the Fezandipity, but then coming in with the Noctowl right at the end, just the clutch Jewel Seeker to get the last Earthen Vessel, to get the last energy to attach and unify beatdown for the game.
What a play there from Justin. Of course, Gabriel had an excellent, powerful start, but you see Pidgeot EX is great, but if it goes uncontested, there's a lot of things that it allows you to secure up. And I think Justin identified how strong Pidgeot was in game 1 and immediately made it part of his game plan to target down early. And from there, Gabriel just struggled to keep up the early game aggression because Pidgeot was offline.
Yeah, that was how to play that. And we can go over that again as we go ahead and look at this replay, of course, to see it as it did play out. The Pidgeot getting set up early on, we saw Gabriel had such a strong start, really was able to search for everything he needed, setting up well, getting the attacks in. But like you mentioned, Ethan, Justin, recognizing how fearsome that this Pidgeot was, how much it did for Gabriel, targeting it down very early, had the means to do it, took that really big first knockout, but the very first big important knockout, and really from there, Gabriel was struggling to get any kind of counterattack going. Had to Fortin to get out a Duskull, and but in the end, even with the attacks that he had, and even with the INO that he played, Justin was able to put it together with the restart and with the Jewel Seeker to do the unified beatdown to finish things off.
It came down to that final card off restart.
It did.
Boss's orders, the underground, and then found the Ultra Ball, and luckily saved one of those Noctowl. You see, having that last Noctowl available gives you what you need as an extra out to close things out as we head into game 3 here, Freya. If you're Gabriel, you just won what looked like your game to lose early on in those turns, came back around, Justin found a strategy. What's going to be going through your head? What do you have to be telling yourself in this spot to mentally be locked in for this last game?
So one thing that helps you a lot is that you've lost, so you get to choose who goes first, and no surprises, Gabriel will be choosing to go first. So can feel pretty content that even though it didn't come into play more until later on, that you're not worried about your early basics being KO'd by a Moonlight Shuriken. But I mean, more importantly than that, maybe you consider if it's possible to try and set up a backup Pidgeot EX. You don't want to go too wide on the bench, but we saw how detrimental it was to not have access to Pidgeot. So maybe you can find some way of getting a backup one going at the same time. You don't leave yourself as vulnerable to a big KO as we saw there in game 2.
It all comes down to this one final game between our two seniors finalists. Every resource matters. Every card drawn can make the difference. This is what it all comes down to. As Gabriel will go first, you can hear the crowd chanting his name. They want him to take it home yet again, but Justin Templar stands in his way as the final opponent for Gabriel Fernandez.
Yeah, and oh god, we've got the view here. Gabriel's start was bench a Duskull, attached to a Rotom Bee, and go for an instant charge. That was it.
That's it. That's not what you want to see. No Charmander. We are into it here in game 2, and a big advantage for Justin. Starts the Ditto again. 2 games out of this set, starting the one of Ditto. That is exactly what you want to see. A perfect starter. It's going to have so much value in Justin getting this board set up.
Yeah, wow. Justin now essentially, like we talked about, happened a couple of times, almost was allowed to go first in a way, even though he actually went second, with Gabriel having a really, really rough turn 1. I mean, one Duskull down, sure, an energy attachment, but instant charge, you really want to be doing more than that.
And has a Nest Ball as well, so Justin's going to take a look through the deck. There is that Thornton, as well as a couple of energies and a pair of Iono, but those are more than fine for Justin. Will be able to essentially execute his strategy as intended, pending the rest of the hand, of course, is solid and useful. So checking the deck, making sure he knows all resources and can choose any basic Pokemon to bench, and we've still got plenty to go in this turn.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see the choice here for Justin between, it looks like maybe eyeing up the Mew, but you probably want to be getting down either that Origin Form Palkia V or, of course, that Terrapico CX to make sure that your Noctowls will be working as quickly as they can.
So we'll see what the rest of the hand looks like. It seems that there is a Hoot Hoot in there, as well as it looks like potentially a Boss's Orders. Now, the question is, could you have an energy card to attack? Instead, it looks like that and the Lost Vacuum will be the targets for Ultra Ball. So yet again, Justin's going to get another Pokemon out into play and can end this turn off by also using that Ditto to turn into a Fan Rotom. Instead, actually, going to just bench the Fan Rotom itself and can change this Ditto into a different Pokemon, maybe even something like that Origin Form Palkia V.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you feel more confident with it, as it is currently in the active, maybe if you find a Water Energy, you can, go ahead and use Rule the Region to search for that Area 0 Underdepths. I mean, it's not amazing, but it gets you to Stadium, right?
And of course, Star Portal and Energy Switch are both options to make it so that you can still attack with that Palkia V if it does evolve, of course, into that Origin Form Palkia V-Star. So just that transformative start ability for Ditto. We'll see what that choice is. Luckily, though, with that Terrestrial Pokemon in play early, Justin's going to be able to use that Jewel Seeker ability with ease through this game.
Yeah, and actually, I stand corrected. It looks like it's actually already in hand, the areas are under depth, so it doesn't even need to rule the region. And this looks like it's going to be a really, really strong turn one from Justin, because I think the hand is literally just all birds. I think it's just all Hootoo and Noctowl at this point.
It may be the daytime, it may be the middle of the day, but Justin is getting nocturnal this game. The owls are out, and he is ready to search for all those treasures within his deck. That is a great combo, and even going to bench the stadium, really just forcing Gabriel to commit that lost vacuum early on in the game to get rid of that Area 0, which is always something that you're going to want to consider. Of course, Justin will have a pretty easy time winning the stadium war, pending he can find everything. Gabriel does have an Ultra Ball, so that must have been, the top decker, the draw off of Instant Charge. Can now at least get some more Pokemon into play.
Yeah, so he's going to go ahead and fetch that Charmander. Does opt to discard the Minion, interestingly enough. To me, that telegraphs that there probably is some supporter in hand already that was found off the Instant Charge. Looking at the prizes, that one of Fortin and one of Lost Vacuum is prized, actually, and one of Charmeleon as well. A little bit, not unworkable, but a little bit annoying prizes for Gabriel.
Yeah, the Lost Vacuum being at the top of the prizes means that Justin's going to have this Area 0 underdepths in play for essentially the entirety of the game. Will not have to worry about getting more stadiums, and Gabriel will really be unable to limit Justin's output in terms of damage, besides, of course, benching less Pokemon like he has done in the past.
Yeah, which he did use to great effect in Game 1 and in Game 2 as well, to be fair, just not quite able to do it all the way, especially considering, of course, that Terrapagos EX. It doesn't matter how many you bench or not, it's all based on what your opponent benches in terms of the Unified Beatdown damage, but he's going to look through the deck with this Ultra Ball and figure out what he wants to go for after this. I do see, is there an Arven there already in hand ready to go? I think that's what I saw. It was either that or it could be an Ino, actually.
Yeah, Iono could be great because you do have information that your opponent is holding on to at least one Noctowl in their hand, and any way that you can, shut your opponent off from having easy access to that Jewel Seeker ability could 100% be a plus. You can't deny, though, the effect of just guaranteed getting something like a Buddy Puffin off of a card like Arven.
Yeah, so let's see what he goes. Oh, he's actually just the Ino there in hand, so he's going to go ahead and evolve into the Dusclops. Had that in hand, ready to go already. Is he maybe doing the Curse Blast? Nope, just going to go for the Ino now, because there is, of course, a debate, of course, as to whether you do the Curse Blast first or not, because if you go for it first, you can put your opponent on one less card, but deciding in this instance would rather just wait to decide what to put the damage on until after the Ino draw.
Yeah, it's tough when you're not combining that with an attack, right?
Yeah.
Since you would put 5 damage counters somewhere, you're not even taking a prize card, you're putting the damage somewhere that could be essentially irrelevant depending on what Justin does on the following turn. So, of course, you always want to, give your opponent less cards when it comes to disruptive supporters like Iono, but in this case, I think Gabriel understands that card's going to be better saved for a little bit later.
Yeah, and does find off of the Ino and a Buddy Puffin, so we'll be able to get at that Pidgey. We did see how important it was for that Pidgeot to stay in play and how the game kind of fell apart when it got KO'd. So it may be in an ideal world to get a second one down, but at this point in the game, maybe you just think to yourself, getting down 2 Charmander is way more important because, because if you don't get 2 down, then the one can get KO'd and then you can't attack.
Yeah, the thing I just thought about this is, this Rotom's probably not going to want to stay in the active spot, so what do you retreat into? And the other big thing as well is, with there only being 2 Charmander into play, the Radiant Greninja is going to have an absolute field day, especially since Gabriel has prized, or does he have access to the Thornton? If he doesn't, then that is going to be tough.
No,
and
it
yes,
is prized.
that Thornton being prized is a big deal. Of course, Justin does not know that, but that does mean that if Radiant Greninja uses Moonlight Shuriken to knock out both Charmander, Gabriel Fernandez is unable to establish Charizard on the following turn.
Okay, so here's the opportunity then. I'm sure that Justin sees, he's stepping out in the water. He sees there's only 2 Charmander out in play, and if he can, he will absolutely go for this play with the Moonlight Shuriken, checking the discard pile just to see what's what, and we do see there the Ultra Ball, and there's 2 Origin Form Palkia V-Star in hand, so one of them you could probably discard with no sweat, but then what is the other discard here? Maybe thinking about that Fan Rotom, doesn't really want to bench 2 of those if he can avoid it.
And now we start the Seeking Jewel Seeker. With this Ultra Ball, could find one of those Noctowl, and from there, it starts to get out of hand for Justin. We'll have to switch this Palkia V out of the active spot. Does have that Prime Catcher, but you'd rather be using that one copy of Switch, I feel, if you're going to target 2 Pokemon regardless of wherever they are, be it the active spot or the bench.
Yeah, and here I would really like to see a grab of both Earthen Vessel and Nest Ball. Get the Earthen Vessel to grab you 2 energy, or I guess Irida to kind of continue to chain even better. Actually, this is even better, right? Because if you grab the Irida and the Earthen Vessel, you can then grab a Water Pokemon for free and then another item. So yeah, this is absolutely the right move to make here.
Yeah, and this is sort of a tough spot on what item you want to grab in this position, since there are currently no water energy in the discard pile, and you still need to play the switch if you want to hold on to your Prime Catcher. So Justin has it guaranteed at this point, but would have to burn his Prime Catcher. However, I think that might be worth it in this spot if you're knocking out both of the Charmanders.
Well, we want to get the energy in the discard pile, right? We have the Earthen Vessel there, so yeah, I think off of this, you grab the Ultra Ball and the Radiant Greninja. You can use the Ultra Ball to grab another Noctowl, so you can go ahead and grab the Switch, whilst also getting those 2 Water Energy in the discard pile to set up for your Star Portal.
And don't forget about concealed cards. Can still use that ability to draw some cards first, and maybe even find a Noctowl or some energy cards, and save some of those trainers from being grabbed from another Jewel Seeker ability. It looks like with how Justin has things lined up, he is in an excellent spot to put himself in a strong position during this game.
Yeah, the chain is going here, and actually not going to opt to go for the concealed cards just yet. Just going to Ultra Ball away those 2 water energies, and then instead going to go for a Noctowl to grab another Earthen Vessel, and of course that Switch. So it's all set up here. I think he's basically got a guarantee at this point.
Yeah, I think just thinking right now, is there a better card to grab than Switch, since technically the Prime Catcher is granting that switching effect. Of course, if you are in dire need of another piece, it can always be better to grab that instead, but does have the flexibility. The hand is just what he needs it to be. We'll grab Switch and Earthen Vessel, and I think we are getting close to a potential Radiant Greninja, Moonlight Shuriken on turn 2 for Justin, just as you'd like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll have to be the discard of the Glass Trumpet here. It pretty much is the only card you can afford to discard to make this play happen, but I think you're still fine with this, right? You still have 1 more Glass Trumpet left in the deck, and this play is going to be so devastating, it might not even matter.
This is a huge tempo swing for Justin. How will Gabriel respond in this position, especially if Justin can also attach an energy for turn, which he does have. There are 2 more water energy right now in the hand, so the 3 from Star Portal plus the energy attachment for turn means that Justin can not only attack with Radiant Greninja, but power up this Origin Form Palkia V-Star for the next turn and have so many options at his disposal. It's almost too perfect. It's almost going too well here for Justin in this 3rd game.
Could not have asked for more. And Nest Ball as well for good measure, just to get another bench Pokemon set up. When, wow, what do you do if you're Gabriel here? Especially with the Force and Prize, right? Like you just said, with this play happening, there is no way to set up a Charizard next turn.
And even if Thornton was in the deck, it would still be, a good amount to ask for Gabriel. He doesn't have Pidgeot EX set up to find that piece, and we just saw Lumineon as well hit the discard pile. So even in this situation, good and bad, it's almost as bad as it can get, but regardless, exactly what you want for Justin. Star Portal being used, we're finally going to see that Moonlight Shuriken come into effect game 3, and this time it's going to knock out both of the Charmanders.
Not only knock out 2 Charmanders, but this time finally able to get the manual attachment of the water energy as well, so he can then follow up with attack with the subspace swell.
And now it's on Gabriel here. How do you respond to something like this? You're not going to be attacking this turn. Cannot even use Radiant Charizard at this spot, since you can use Curse Blast to put your opponent down to 3 prizes, but Excited Heart would mean that Charizard still needs 2 energies to attack, and that is going to be a tough spot. Ultra Ball's a great way to start, but still a lot of cards needed to be found here for Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you can grab yourself the Pidgeot, and there is the rare candy ready in hand, so you have a quick search options at the very least, but, I mean, here you want to get down to Charmander, right, to try and avoid a repeat scenario, but as we already mentioned, Justin's playing that energy switch. If he can find it, he can just go ahead and Moonlight Shuriken and go for a double KO on the Charmander again.
Well, Gabriel is a smart player. He is a seasoned player. Don't let his age fool you. He is talented. If anybody's going to figure this out, it's going to be him. He's going to do everything possible to keep himself in this game. He is not a player to give up in this spot.
No, absolutely he isn't. There is the Arven ready to go in hand as well, which is going to play now, and he's going to try and figure out the best way possible to get out of this. And yeah, one key part of that is going to be that unfair stamp that he just added to his hand.
A great card, especially since Justin decided to not bench something like Mew EX in this spot, instead choosing the Hoothoot. So I wonder here, Justin could have maybe prepared for something a little bit better by putting Mew EX into play instead, though there are benefits of having either of those Pokemon down.
Yeah, so Here comes the Night Stretcher, gonna go ahead and find that second Charmander. So one more, so both of them down again, giving that little bit of protection. But you really want to get 3 down if you want to guarantee yourself a Charizard next turn. And the Unfair Stamp is going to be the best way to stop Justin from being able to do a really vicious counterplay, as we do see as well. Another potential stopper, the Counter Catcher coming in on this Terrapico CX to force another switching out too.
It does have a 2 retreat cost, and don't forget that Glass Trumpet only attaches energy to the benched Pokemon. So it will be a bit of a hassle here for Justin to either A, move that Pokemon to the bench, or B, power that Pokemon up, as Gabriel will unleash the stamp, Unfair Stamp. Gabriel will shuffle and draw 5. Justin shuffling and only grabbing 2 cards. And Justin, off of these 2 cards, if he can continue to find pieces that are needed, will put himself in an excellent spot to close this game out.
I didn't quite see what he grabbed there. He hid it from us a little bit, but I'm sure we'll see when it comes to his turn. Meanwhile, from Gabriel's side, 5 cards drawn. There's another rare candy in hand, so could be ready to go with a Charizard next turn if both these Charmanders survive. But now he's going to have to decide what he wants to leave in the active, and I guess it's going to have to be this Dusclops, right? You can't leave the pitcher active. You can't leave the pitcher active here, surely.
It's tough. If you could get another Charmander down, I wouldn't hate retreating into the Charmander. If your opponent has the combination of cards to go Energy Switch, Prime Catcher, Attach for turn, and they have the knockout,
yeah, you're stuffed anyway, right?
Boost the game regardless of which Pokemon comes to the active spot. And Gabriel does have another Charmander, and I think that's got to be what you promote here. If one Charmander gets knocked out, that's fine as long as there's another Charizard or Charmander to evolve into Charizard in the spot.
You could also consider discarding the Stadium, actually. With that steady fire breathing, there is a Fire Energy in hand.
It's tough. You could definitely go for something like that, but I feel like Gabriel in this spot maybe just has to value the instant charge instead, to just put more cards together.
Sorry, steady fire breathing is the attack. Blazing Destruction, that's the Stadium discarding attack. I got it mixed up there.
Blazing Destruction, and we are going to see the Fire Energy committed, but it is going to be the instant charge, and here we go. What did Justin find off of these 3 cards? Of course, 2 from the Unfair Stamp, and 1 card for turn as the draw. Terrapagos, as of right now, can't attack, it can't retreat. What does Justin have access to? Looks like not a lot. Does, however, have a Thornton in hand, so that is a potential, and does find Nest Ball. So if UEX is in the deck, which it is, Restart is now a potential option for Justin to fill the hand up to 3 cards.
Yeah, now the thing is with this Thornton is that you could just use it if you wanted to swap the Terrapagos for just a Pokemon that has less retreat. But then, of course, if you do that, then your Area 0 Underdepths will stop working, and you will have to discard down to 5 on the bench.
And I'm not sure if that's necessarily worth it here for Justin.
No,
I mean, even in this spot, if Justin, at the worst case scenario, would even just pass this turn, he's still in a very good spot. He took the first 2 prizes, and there's a lot of liabilities on Gabriel's bench, mainly that Rotom V and the Pidgeot. Of course, if Justin can just take another prize card this turn, he is in an excellent spot. There's the concealed cards. Doesn't draw into anything necessarily that he'd like. It looks like another supporter and another Area 0 under depths, and now comes the question. We'll look through the discard pile, see if there's any basic Pokemon in there, and choose whether or not it's worth it to play the Thornton when removing this Terrapagos really limits your options and availability.
Yeah, it's tough, right? I don't know, if I was Justin, I would have maybe considered if I wanted to attach the Water Energy instead and go for the restart, because now the hand's in clogged, and now he just has to pass the turn.
Wow, just has to pass the turn, and this is now a big opening here for Gabriel. Has the rare candy Charizard, and let's not forget about the Dusclops on the bench. Since Star Portal has been used, Justin's ability to attack with a powerful threat like Origin Form Palkia V-Star is going to be very difficult to use, so let's see exactly what can happen. If Gabriel can make use of something like Defiance Band, Justin right now, having taken 2 prize cards, a third with Curse Blast, means that the Defiance Band plus the 270 damage could knock out this Origin Form Palkia V-Star. Gabriel's got a big hand, he's got Quick Search. We'll see if he decides to do that and if he can make it possible.
Yeah, if he can go for it, he absolutely will. And that's the Professor Turo scenario as well, to take the easy 2 prizes off the board from the Rotom V.
This works too, limit your options for your opponent to close this game out. It takes a Pokemon off the bench, and that Pokemon is a big liability. Gabriel could even things up, and Justin now may struggle to route these last 4 prize cards to win the game.
Yeah, of course, with the Turo scenario, you do have to discard the cards attached, so yeah, just go ahead and make sure that Forest Seal Stone is in the discard pile. Now, you do still have access to Quick Search here. You've not made use of that yet, but you already have your Charizard going, so yeah, what do you even grab here? I mean, there's a few different routes you could go. Do you still have access to a Counter Catcher? Because I think there were a few used and discarded, right?
So that's the question, right? Do you have the cards to counter Catcher and knock out this Palkia? Or do you value just knocking this Terapagos out? And to be honest, Freya, I think I'd rather take this Terapagos out of play. You then limit your opponent from using that Jewel Seeker ability.
Absolutely.
Unless they can get another Terapagos down. And with how weak Justin's hand is, it's just one more card he's going to need to find when he's already struggling to find resources.
Yes, so the choice of the quick search is actually going to be this Dusknoir, which does get evolved straight away from the Dusclops, so that is a 130 damage that's being threatened at any point, even better than the 5 from the Dusclops, of course. And then there's going to be a Super Rod shuffling in some key resources back into the deck, get those energies back, make sure that you can sort of clean up the game with your last few attacks. And is there anything else going on? There is a Nest Ball maybe ready to be played as well. Gabriel wants to make sure that he does not throw this opportunity away. He has been given a chance to get back into this game, and he just want to make the most out of it. So it is just going to be an attack with the Charizard, and that will be a 240. That will be exactly enough for a knockout.
Burning Darkness taking the knockout, and also importantly, forcing Justin to discard his bench down, getting rid of those 2 Noctowl as well as the Fan Rotom. And now Justin, with just a couple of cards in hand, nothing really to make work.
It draws another Area 0.
Looks like that is actually a Glass Trumpet,
okay.
But Glass Trumpet cannot be used if you do not have a Terra Pokemon in play. So now things get tricky. That would have been a card that Justin could have used the previous turn, but now is useless. And with the way things look for this, I'm not sure Justin can even draw a single card off restart. Boss's Orders, Thornton, an Area 0 Underdepths, and a Glass Trumpet. No matter how you want to play that handout, it's not necessarily possible unless you go into that Terapagos. But from there, you only get a 1-card draw, and it needs to bail you out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it has to be, right? I think you have to take one of these 2 Hoot, use the Thornton, swap it out for a Terapagos, and then take it forward from there. What else can you do, right?
You can't do much else. You've got to play to your outs in this spot, but you'd rather it be any other Pokemon than the Hoot as well, since you can't afford to switch this Radiant Greninja out. I mean, there is a world where you could, switch the Radiant Greninja out. It's technically done its job, and it would be guaranteeing you an attack this turn, since you could use the Glass Trumpet to power up the Radiant Greninja. However, we are just going to see the retreat at this point, so this makes me wonder whether or not, Justin is going to go for this Mew and want to use the Glass Trumpet on it instead. We'll see the choice. He's going to go ahead and use the Thornton, and it is going to be on that Radiant Greninja, so interesting choice to retreat first. We'll have to see exactly what he's going for here.
I think he wasn't 100% sure about how he wanted to approach that, because, I think it was just a decision there at the last minute, and...
it's just tough, right? Because you can't really attack with this Terapagos here either. If you do that, you're just going to get knocked out again by Burning Darkness.
Oh, wait, there's an energy switch in hand.
Did find the energy switch, I believe, off the restart, so filled the hand up, will now use this Subspace Swell, dealing damage into this Charizard, but things are looking so dangerous now as Gabriel has Pidgeot online, has multiple Boss's Orders still left in the deck, and can potentially close this game out now in 2 turns. This has turned upside down here. Gabriel is now the leading horse here in this 3rd match.
I was going to say, can you close out in 1 turn? But no, you can't get Justin down to 2 prizes to use the Briar. That would have been a really big stream highlight moment. But no, you're just going to play it sensible, play it safe. You are not in a bad position here at all. You've been attacked, but you do not mind at all. You have your quick search ready. You have the Dusknoir available ready. He's just going to consider how he wants to approach this here, because he knows that he is in a very good position to become a 2-time Latin American international champion, a 3-time overall international champion, but he does not want to throw this away.
Well, the biggest issue right now is you only have 1 Boss's Orders left, so if you want to take 2 knockouts, and more importantly, take that final knockout with Boss's Orders, you've got to find a way to take 2 prizes without using that boss, and I think it could potentially revolve that Dusknoir's Curse Blast ability, since by putting Justin to 3 prizes, you don't give him any opportunity to win the game on the following turn.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fine in terms of setting it up to make sure to close the winner's opportunity for Justin to make a comeback, but he is going to consider this very, very carefully indeed. There goes to the quick search, grabbed it so quick, didn't even see what he grabbed there. But it looks like, wait, what was that?
It is a Charizard.
Okay.
So I like this play here from Gabriel. Establish another Charizard EX so that is a guarantee next turn, despite any hand disruption. And of course, if there's any way to knock the Pidgeot out, it's going to get knocked out back in return from Charizard. Gabriel is closing all openings, all gaps, and is on his way to repeat as an international champion here in Brazil.
Yeah, and off that Arven does grab the Defiance Band and the Counter Catcher. So as soon as this Dusknoir gets enabled, we'll be able to make use of both of those cards. So yeah, Curse Blast is going to come in, and I mean, you want to make sure that you're doing it on something, but then you'll be even on prizes, right? If you do it that way.
Let's take the knockout. Oh, hold on. This is a tough situation. Looks like signal towards the Hoot Hoot. And if that's the case, then things go upside down. This is a situation that we're going to have to get confirmation on. If he signaled towards that Hoot Hoot, Freya, that means that, like you said, both players would be even on prize cards, and from there, Counter Catcher is not an option, Defiance Band is not an option, and now, all of a sudden, while Gabriel was filling up all the openings, he may have just smashed the wall down and given the opportunity back to Justin.
Yeah, so I think he's just trying to explain like the way that he was gesturing, as if he wasn't confirming what he was doing. He was just kind of deciding what to go for. But I mean, I can see the confusion, right? I can see how Justin might interpret it as, you know, he just realized that it was a mistake to go after it and is trying to like take it back. It's this is such an awkward decision. But
and has to stay with the decision to knock out this Hoot Hoot. This now changes the entire trajectory of Gabriel's turn. He's not out of it, though. The one saving grace for him could be that Briar now, the card that you mentioned, to keep himself at a chance to win this game. This all of a sudden completely changed. Now Justin's got to be thinking about, what can I do here? And is bailed out with this Origin Porn Palkia V-Star hanging on with just 10 HP remaining.
But Briar won't make a difference. You knock out this Charizard, and then the Briar turn skipped.
Exactly, it would skip at this point, and it also means that you would no longer be able to use Curse Blast since your opponent would be at just one prize card, so there's no way to add any damage, meaning that if you want to get through this Palkia V-Star, you have to attack into it. There's no other path.
And with that mistaken Curse Blast on the Hoot Hoot, Justin might have just been afforded the bailout opportunity he needs to take this game back from Gabriel.
Oh, this is so heartbreaking, Freya. Justin now has been given an opportunity, and no matter how you feel, you've got to take it. You've got to pounce at it in this spot. Justin is down a lot of resources, so nothing is guaranteed in this spot. We'll go ahead and play the Buddy Buddy Poffin and see what pieces he still has available. There's no Pokemon left in the deck with 70 HP or less to grab off this item.
Yeah, so how much will this Palkia game be doing? It won't be a lot, right? It'll be, what, 160 right now?
That would be enough, though. There is 200 damage onto this Charizard EX. But from there, Justin would have to find a way to take this last prize card, and with there only being one bench Pokemon in play, with that being the Pidgeot, no matter how you design it, it's not going to be enough to knock out the Pidgeot since that Kiernan has been discarded early on.
Yeah, so as mentioned, that is the saving grace here for Gabriel. So, does find a knocked out Jewel Seeker, though. We'll be able to search for any two cards from the deck here. Will this be the difference maker as he does look through? I'm not sure if there's any cards in the deck that can make a difference here, though.
This is definitely giving Justin a bigger chance in this game, but I don't think that mistake necessarily lost Gabriel the game. He's still in a great spot. He's got an awesome board, 2 Charizard EX and a Pidgeot, and that's it. He's doing everything possible to limit Justin's damage output and make it so that if Justin wants to win the game, he's going to have to take this turn and 2 more turns to win, and that might just be enough time for Gabriel.
Yeah, so it looks like the picks from the Jewel Seeker, it is going to be that Nest Ball and that Ino. Makes complete sense. You want to make sure maybe to get a Serendipity EX if you do get KO'd, so you can draw some more cards, or maybe just any other basic from your deck. Could be another Origin Form Palkia. Just bench something, right? Just make sure that you get your bench as full as possible to do more damage, either with the Palkia or with the Terapagos EX, and then you're going to play that Ino, and you're going to cross your fingers.
And let's not forget here, we're coming under just 3 minutes left in this round. Time has gone by, so turns of time could be a factor. Just one more thing to think about in this crazy Game 3 of our Seniors Finals.
Yeah. And then off of the Ino does find what looks like a Night Stretcher and a Water Energy. We'll be able to attach that to the Origin Form Palkia V if he so desires, get another attack ready to go, but I believe that second Origin Form Palkia V-Star is in the discard pile along with both the Glass Trumpet.
I think at this point it's just thinking, should I be retreating this Origin Form Palkia V-Star and not giving my opponent free prize cards? The issue with that is no matter what Justin promotes, it will be knocked out. It is no difference, so maybe just attack with this Origin Form Palkia V-Star, take the knockout, but the biggest issue is from that point, no matter what Justin sends up, Burning Darkness will knock it out, and I'm not sure after this turn he has what it takes to close this game out.
No, I don't think so, and even though we saw maybe that slight mistake from Gabriel giving Justin the opportunity, like you said, Ethan, it might not matter. Gabriel might have just still set up the good enough board to take the win regardless. There's the KO, the Subspace Swell onto the damaged Charizard. What does Gabriel draw? It looks like I know a couple of other bits, but I mean, here you just announced the KO, right?
you can just announce the KO. I think is just double checking, how can I lose this game? How can Justin take this final prize card, and is also going to Iono Justin down to just one card. Subspace Swell with 8 bench Pokemon does 160 plus the 60 base, so that's 220, plus 1 bench Pokemon for Gabriel is 240, and that will not be enough to knock out Pidgeot, even if Justin had the Kieran available. And I think with this, Gabriel has almost locked this game up. Despite having made that small error, he stayed composed, and he looks promised to become a champion.
Yeah, he sure does. Attaching the Defiance Band, he is so close here. He can taste it. He wants to make sure, again, that he doesn't do something else, like give Justin another opportunity to make a comeback play, but he's just working it through here and just doing the maths. I think he's literally working out in his head.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking about is, again, Mew EX can copy the Burning Darkness attack if you go to 1 prize card. I think that could be the only risk here for Gabriel, and that's why he's going to target this Mew EX down and try and just shut every obscure option out of the door.
Yeah, we know that's not possible because the amount of the energy switches used, but absolutely, just in case, that is absolutely the right move to make. Super heads up from Gabriel.
And now the doors are shutting on Justin. What can he do in this spot? Just a Prime Catcher.
And that's it!
He extends the hand. Back-to-back champions. Gabriel Fernandez does that and repeats his title as the international champion here in Latin America.
Gabriel Fernandez, un tuffo campeón internacional de América Latina y 3 veces campeón internacional de Pokémon de TC.
Let's go. You hear the crowd behind him. A home favorite, Gabriel Fernandez, again becomes an international champion back-to-back in Brazil. What a game. What a match. So back and forth. That was an absolute treat, and a finals we'll be looking back on for a while.
I think I might have just blown my voice out screaming there, but that was so worth it. 2 Brazilian champions in the juniors divisions and the seniors divisions, and what 2 matches that we got to see there, even. My goodness.
That was a pleasure. You know, absolute honor as always to be able to cast these matches for our younger division players, showcase their skill, and they did exactly that. They don't get a lot of chances to go on the stream. It's usually